So, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for making it this evening. I hope everybody's warm, especially those of us living in SA. The Cape is freezing. But Olwethu Mxoli is with us, and we are extremely excited to have you joining us with at the Red Wheelbarrow Poetry Collective. Um, so, the setup for this evening is as usual. Olwethu will read for about 30 to 40 minutes. We will have a Q&A, and then we'll take a short break for 5 minutes and come back for the open mic, where we invite all of you to either read a poem that you've been working on, or if you'd like to share a poem from a poet that you treasure. So, Olwethu, thank you so much once again. I'm very excited to be hosting. You look gorgeous.
I was wondering,
And
can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you.
Oh, perfect.
So I will start off with a poem just to kick us off, and then I'll hand over to you. So I have, oh, Michelle, you're here. So Unearthed, a selection of the best poems from 2016 by Dryad Press. And there is a poem in here by Stephen Simons that I really adore. I adore all of his writing, but there's a poem in this collection, in this anthology called Glass. Sometimes he would let himself wear the fragrance of her on some insignificance of his body, the back of his hand or the fold of his elbow. He would lift those parts off of himself to his nose and let her memory slip across the back of his mind, like a blue window allows clouds to skate over its surface. And with that, I hand over to you, Olwethu. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Um, it feels very weird to do this sitting down. I'm used to standing, so my whole body is not used to this situation. But I didn't want to do this standing because then it will feel like a teacher talking to talking to a classroom, and that's a whole different environment. I have a few poems, some new, some from our previous Eka book, and some a bit older than that I put together tonight, which I hope you will enjoy. The Rapture. This house is too small to contain a spilling marriage. Arguments do not have to be shouted to carry, and they do carry. The silence that follows squeezes like too many rubber bands on a watermelon. We watch it swell on both ends, tight and shiny, gleefully waiting to scatter its flesh all over the living room. The seeds only to be found at some distant cleaning. And still, your hands reach for another rubber band, and we cower behind closed doors and listen for the rapture. Traditions. My father is making his way into old age and has immersed himself once again in the rituals of his youth, the ones he did not give to me. In the kraal, he stands in his red hat, his red shirt, even his feet are stained red by the blood that creeps into the darkening ground. Two calves pass the kraal, being driven back to camp, and they see their kin laid out onto his own skin, and I wonder what that must do to a body. The men, oblivious, talk of their work week and have cold drinks with stained hands. Using wine to nourish. A good curry takes time. Don't rush it. Let the spices love the oil until their scent stains the house. To drown. Your parents' marriage is a burned down house, a place that will never be home again. to dance, when there's nothing left to do, when there is no home to go to. The next poems I'm going to read are all about my mother. And the first one, of course, is titled very aptly, I Write Too Much of Mother, which is her opinion. And she has made it very clear that that's not how she is, and I write too much about her, but I must stop, but I can't, but I do. I write too much of mother. I write too much of mother. She says that the world must think her a witch. And I say, no. They see the cruelty and think it's magic. But I know it's neither. But I cannot make my pen tell the truthful lie. My mother crawls through my poetry, a sharp shadow. I cannot write well enough, or I will not write well enough. Photograph. In this photograph, my mother does not know that she will be my mother. Her dress fans out like a sigh around her cinnamon legs, and her braids fly like a dream. I can hear her laughter singing through the sepia, her eyes teasing above her shoulder. Look at me, they say. Look at me. Mother scars. When my niece, with all the bluntness of a 4-year-old, asks, Grandma, why does your tummy look like that? And glides her small finger over my mother's cesarean scar that travels in a crude line, still angry even after all these years. My mother's sigh sinks like a biscuit left in tea for too long. She says, your mother and her sisters did that, and does not laugh when we do. Mother, are you an invention of my longing pen? A question with no words, a language with no answers, haunting me with poetry. My smile, a wound, the evidence of violence against this body. My mind is a house with too many rooms and not enough windows. Its crooks hide wraiths always watching. I don't have words for the things that move against the walls here. They hiss in a tongue I do not understand. In a windowless room, I found a coffin dressed as a bed, planning my funeral. I have been afraid of sleep ever since. These next two poems are written about conversations with my psychiatrist, Edith, my long-suffering psychiatrist, Edith. The session 2. I tell Edith about the vodka feeling stored in the bottom drawer and stare at her sage green walls. Mute. Waiting. It's a calming color, she says. I don't tell her. It reminds me of being sick. Another session with Edith. Today I tell Edith I've often dreamed about the magic of bathtubs, how they fill with all that red and someone sunk inside, how they drain and carry away all that heavy misery. But it is also an old magic trick made famous by girls more broken than me, whose shards dance kaleidoscopic in the light. I tell her, if I took the time, I think I could learn to make the sun sing through me. Edith makes a note on her notepad, looks at me and says, I think we need to reconfigure the meds and maybe think about more sessions. Prayers. I am filled with bad magic. My mother says I've made a witch of her. My father says a ghost of him. They haunt and bewitch my poetry. This pen, it bleeds funny. I cannot stop the way the words pour out, even when I edit. It makes a mess of everything. I try to be careful of the words I give to the night. I know that prayers dissolved in soft water become curses, unafraid of the light, and I carry too many of them in my blood already. I carry them in my blood and walk out in sunshine so no one can call me a vampire, even when I see the faces around me grow pale. My mother has worn a groove into the carpet beside her bed, but nothing changes. The blood remains dirty with hope. The artist. He is a man. He is a good looking man. He is a good man, raised by a careful mother. He is a proud man. He is proud of his art. He is proud of his accomplishments. He is proud of me. He is a holy man. He is a man who prays to virgins, a man who keeps his tools clean, sharp, and sacred. He is a man who takes his time. This first sliver he cut from me was thin as paper, thinner, melt on the tongue like a wafer thin. And I did not cry when he cut. I did not cry when he cut and cut and cut again. He made a meal of me. I was sustenance and muse. I was determined to keep him alive, even if it killed me. The water saw us coming. The water saw us coming. Before our mothers gave us names that carry our fathers' shadows, before our faces were haunting memories, the water recognized our mother's heaviness when they offered themselves to her, pulled it closer, and now it sits beaded with barnacles, rusting up her chest. The water knew that we too would come one day to sink our sins in her, knowing that she will turn them into blue bottles, little floating nightmares. Once I saw them wrap themselves around a man's torso, leaving angry welts in their wake. He laughed and went back into the water's mouth, forced it to take him because he was not done. But the water knew he would read a warning as a challenge. Men like him always do. She pulled all her sand into her chest, and him with it, sent him rolling to rust with all that we sank there. Dirty secrets. We whisper on the back of a bus, our eyes never losing sight of the old women who look too much like our own mothers. The aftermath of one night sits heavily between us. We are too young for what we are about to do, and neither of us is brave enough to call this moment what it is. It is not too bad once all the papers are filled with endings and the questions answered. It's almost as if it never happened. Someday, we'll let this moment vanish into a memory we will never share, a secret so dark they haven't invented the language to give it a name. My friend, Mr. Van Tonder, has sold his shop to Abdul. And each morning I greet Abdul and I say, "Good morning, my friend." And he says, "Good morning." This morning, when I say, "Good morning, my friend," he asks me if I think the word kafir is offensive. And I say, yes, without hesitation. He asks, why? And I say, I don't know the connotation, the history, how it makes me feel. He nods. And then he asks if I think my friend is offensive. And I say, no, without hesitation. He asks, why? I say, well, I think it's better than foreigner or kwere or kweja and the other long list of things they call you. He nods and is silent for a time before saying, but they feel the same. Love songs. He sometimes sings me songs in a language I do not understand. He says there are love songs from a time when people were still romantic, a time before the internet. He says there are songs that his mother gave to him so that he could give them to someone like me someday. And I know that he's trying to tell me that he loves me. He's been trying to tell me that he loves me for weeks. But I don't want to speak of things like that. My mother once believed a man who told her he loved her, and she took his name. And sometimes when he is angry, he takes it back, leaves her gasping and nameless and alone, praying to a God who cannot hear her through her tears. And I don't think I could ever live like that. So I tell him, let's not speak of the future. Sing me one of your mother's love songs. And he does. At 2 a.m., I'm wakened by the scent of smoke in the bedroom. He's sitting on the edge of the bed, smoking a Blackstone through the window. I crawl up to him, pull his naked back onto my breast, and ask, why are you up so early? He takes a long draw of the Blackstone, exhales, and asks, why can I not speak about the future? And in this moment, I know that we are over. In the morning, he drives me to work in silence. 45 minutes of silence. When I open the door to leave, he takes my hand and says, this is not a poem. And I kiss him for the last time. Funeral black. The doctor drew my blood. It oozed into the needle thick and black as an omen. He said it was no good, that it was filled with death, with guns and drugs and poverty. He called it genetics, an inherited trait passed down for generations across continents and languages. He said he could not help me, that the black body never escapes the reaper's kiss, that we are the mayflies of the human race, that this is black living. I was born in black skin, already dressed for the funeral, already mourning the truth in my blood that I was born to die. Thank you so much for listening to me. My name is Olwethu Mxoli, and I hope you have a great evening.
Oh, thank you for that. Can everybody please just unmute yourselves so that we can give Olwethu a round of applause? Okay, can everybody hear me? Okay, my sound is sometimes a bit strange. Sissy, that was amazing.
Lovely.
That was amazing, Siswam. Thank you so much. In fact, it was too short. I wanted you to go on and on. And
Yeah, it is. I know. To see, I know. Couldn't believe it was over. And it's yes, it's nearly 8. Yeah.
I know. So we are now at the Q&A part of our session. So I open it to the floor. Questions, comments, praise. Are there any hands? You can just raise your hand and I'll call out your name and you can ask Olwethu. Jacques and then Daniela. Thank you. Jacques, you are muted.
Okay, I don't know if you can see and hear me.
Perfect, both, yes.
Olwethu, you know I'm a fan of your work, but that was an incredible reading. Wow, I am very moved by what you've read tonight. I'm curious. I'm fascinated by what is said in your poems and what is not said. And maybe I can ask about it by pointing at a line where you say, I cannot write well enough to speak of this, and then I will not write well enough. Do you want to say something about that, not wanting to write well enough because the writing is so good, but I have some glimpse of what you mean?
I think I will not write well enough because I do think some things are for me and some things are too difficult to see and take back once it's out there. It's gone, because once the poem is gone, it's not mine anymore. It's published. It's whoever reads it or whoever hears it, it belongs to them. And I think in that sense, I will not write well enough, but I also think I will never be able to write well enough to properly articulate anything. I can only do the best I can do. So I will never write well enough.
I was incredibly, I love that image of wanting this, of teaching the sun to sing through you. Edith, it scared Edith, but I love that image. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Olwethu, I don't know if you wanted to jump in and respond.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
I was just asking, you were muted, so I wasn't sure if you were responding to Jacques or not.
No, I was just laughing.
All right, perfect. Shark, thank you for that. Shark. As I say, I see your hand is up. Please take it away.
Sorry, guys, I'm gonna have to stay on audio because I'm sitting in the dark, load shedding. I think those who know me know that I'm really stingy when it comes to praising poetry, but this was amazing. This was so, so beautiful. And I just have like one little simple question is, where's the book? When is the book coming? Where's the book, Sissy?
Don't ask that because there's someone here is gonna ask me that question later. Yo.
Where's the book?
Yeah, hey. Yeah, the book. Yeah. That's
Is
all I
it
can say to
coming?
that. It's coming. Let's say that it's coming.
Oh, good. Okay, then I'm fine.
Thank you for that. That was my question. You stole my question. I actually wrote it down. My question was, when is the book coming out, and are you working with a publisher? So that was my question, because we need the book.
Working on it.
Working on it, tight-lipped, working on it. All right. Are there any more questions? Any more questions or comments?
I actually had a question. Sorry, guys. I can't work out how to put the hand up.
No worries. Take it away, Michelle.
I just wanted to thank you for that reading, Olwethu. It was really moving. I love that poem about the black blood and genetics. And I wondered if you could speak a little bit about that poem. And was that an actual visit to the doctor that you had
No.
that brought on that poem, or maybe you could just talk to us a bit about that poem?
No, it wasn't an actual doctor's visit, but it seems like if you talk about anything that's negative affecting Black life, especially if you watch the news, and everybody sort of has this feeling that, oh, but yeah, but it happens to Black people. And if something bad, my mother always says, yeah, but you're Black. What were you expecting? What were you waiting for? But you're Black. Did you? Oh, shame. You must pull yourself together now, because this is going to be you for the rest of your life. You are Black, my love. And no one cares what you sound like because you're Black. It's the sort of getting that information over and over again, that I'm not entitled to wanting greatness or wanting prosperity or wanting to survive because I am Black. I must accept that I have a short lifespan waiting for me. I can only accomplish so much. And if I do accomplish more, then, oh my God, she's a miracle. And I don't want to be a miracle. I want to be the norm. It should be a norm that, oh, that person achieves that, not, oh, she's a fantastic young Black writer. Oh, she's a fantastic young Black so-and-so. It's always the adjective that comes before whatever you are. They don't forget that you are Black. No one says, oh, so-and-so is a fantastic white writer. No one is going to describe anyone as a fantastic white writer. They're a fantastic writer. They're a fantastic actress. They're a fantastic young and up-and-coming CEO. But if you're Black, your achievement, your greatness, your prosperity is something so peculiar that they have to notify everybody that you are Black and succeeded. Wow. So then it feels like, oh, then I was just born to perish, isn't it? Yeah.
Thank you for that poem. It was really powerful. And that image of drawing the black blood out of by the doctor, it's really powerful image.
Thank you.
Lovely. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Olwethu. Douglas, I see your hand.
That was very well said, Olwethu. Oh, am I? Yeah. Yeah, very well said. I've always wondered at the categorization of human beings. It's so redundant and unnecessary. We are all just people, one and all. And I was going to say, Olwethu, you should send a few poems into Stanza's Poetry magazine, which I edit. I'm sure if you need any information, Cindy can help you with that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Douglas. Margaret, I see your hand. Margaret, you are muted.
I just want to say that I'm shocked that your mother should say that sort of thing to you. I mean, but I say also, just wait until you're old. And then if you do anything, they'll say, oh, isn't she wonderful for her age? She can actually walk. You can actually knit a jersey, even if the jersey doesn't fit anybody.
It's true.
Okay. Mm.
Thanks, Margaret. Are there any more hands? I'm quickly running around trying to get candles because of load shedding, but are there any more hands, any more questions? The floor is still open for a few more minutes. I see comments. Pralini, thank you so much, Olwethu. This is such a juicy Q&A, but I have to leave. Okay, so bye, Pralini. But okay, so if there are no more questions or comments, perhaps then we will close the Q&A, and I will just say thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you one more time to Olwethu for being with us. I really appreciate it. We all do at the Red Wheelbarrow Poetry Collective. Thank you for making the time and sharing your work. We cannot wait to see the published poetry collection. We're all excited, but also no pressure. Take your time, and we hope that you will come back. Oh, wait, I see a hand. Brian, do you have a hand?
I'm sorry, Olwethu, but I couldn't let all of this go.
Brian,
Go first.
Firstly, I'd like to say that older people often get comments about our age. But the other thing, Olwethu, yes, work towards the book. You know, I've been encouraging you. But thanks for being here tonight. It's been great to hear you. Crosby and I have enjoyed it. But it's been a great pleasure to hear you read, as always. And keep going, eh?
Thank you, Brian.
Lovely. I do see some of your Eka poetry family are in the room. Ed, Brian, I think, is also part of the Eka family. And that's where I first encountered your work. So that's very exciting. But so I will close this meeting and this Q&A and just say thank you so much. We hope that you will continue to grace the Red Wheelbarrow with your work. And yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for being here this evening.
Thank you.